Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of Dystopia. I'm your host Matt Davidson and once again I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Hodgson.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah, pretty good, Andrew. How are you going today?
Yeah, good. A couple of days of drinking and yeah, it's still here, mate. Still going.
Yeah, how's the liver hanging up?
It's hanging in there, mate. I have cracked a cold one now as we speak because must be done.
Yeah, what are you drinking today?
Sticking with the supporting local, it's a 4 Pints Pale Ale, so a brewery out at Manly. So we're still on theme.
Well, we've got the election in a couple of weeks' time, so see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Albo doesn't mind a beer.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't know if Dutton does, but
Find out, won't we? The campaign trail.
I feel like Dutton would do it more for the cameras, wouldn't he? Whereas I feel Albo genuinely does, you know?
Yeah, he's a bit more authentic in a way, isn't it? Yeah.
If the cameras are around, I'm sure Dutton would have a bit of a sip, wouldn't he? Oh yes, I like crownies. Yes.
It'd be like that Simpsons episode. Was it like with President Kennedy and Richard Nixon, and then Nixon's like, "Oh yes, I have particular fondness for that particular beer as well." Just like that kind of vibes.
Yeah. That'd be Dutton, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Have you been watching any shows lately, or anything exciting on that kind of front?
We started watching some '90s show. What was it called? It was something with some kid, and he was a dummy, and his grandma or something was a witch. Oh, I forget what it's called now.
Oh, sounds very
Blossoms or something. Fuck, I don't know.
Based on a true story?
I don't think so. Okay. It was a bit like The Bold and the Beautiful, but retarded.
There's something special about those. Was it from the '90s, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, something about when you see the graphics and the acting and the lighting and
I for some reason I just remember it as a kid, and I mentioned it, and the missus knew what it was too, and we just put it on, and it's just on in the background, you know. Yeah, there's a few thousand videos online. I didn't know it went for that long, but there we go.
Yeah,
I can't actually remember the name of it. It escapes me.
I remember you saying too, you used to watch it with your grandma or something after school and stuff like that, didn't you?
Yeah, you used to you come home from school, you get the Bold and the Beautiful, The Young and the Restless,
Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. That show, which is going to piss me off. Then it'd go into Judge Judy, and it'd go into all the rest of them. So just what a marathon that was.
Well, that show's been I think it's called Passions, isn't it?
Oh, that's it.
Yes.
How can I forget?
Oh, clearly you weren't passionate about enough, were you?
So yeah, that's been my week or weekend, but it's sort of driven me to drink, to be honest with you. So
yeah, I mean it's great for 1 or 2 episodes, but then when it's getting to the point where this person's left the town or come back to the town and they've replaced the actor with someone different, but it's meant to be the same character, you're like, oh, okay, I'll just ignore that and just get on with it. Yeah,
it's supposed to be the golden age for television. We with so much choice. Why have I gone to this? But I'm sure there's some allegory in that.
Oh, there is, yeah.
What are the old choice rabbit hole? What do they call it? They call it, don't they? Or
when you get stuck on watching a show, the choice paralysis.
The choice paralysis.
Yeah. It's overwhelming. You go on Netflix and there's like, I watch that. No, I'll watch it later. Oh, and then you spend like 40 minutes going through. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. What about you? Have you been watching anything as good as what I've been watching?
Well, pretty much on the opposite, back to the scale, but in the 90s as well, late 90s, early 2000s, and kind of fitting kind of show for what we're going to talk about later in the episode, but it's a show called, it was like HBO's first big show, called Oz, prison show, and really groundbreaking, ahead of its time kind of show where it's very raw and graphic, and
it's a bit like Passions.
Yeah, very similar. There's very similar themes to it. Yeah. But a lot of famous actors were in it before they got big, and you see they use the same actors in later HBO shows like The Wire and Game of Thrones and things like that too. So, in Sopranos especially too. There's a lot of characters in between both those shows. So, yeah, no, it's very, as I said, like very raw, very gritty. Really like showcases prisons in a way where it didn't hide anything away. It showed you like what it was like. I mean, some bits are a bit silly, over the top, but then a lot of it was like realistic and stuff as well. So no, highly recommend anyone to watch it. It's very well done, and it kind of doesn't get the limelight it deserves. I kind of view it as it crawled so shows like The Sopranos and The Wire could run. So that's how I view it. Yeah. So anyone out there, give it a watch if you haven't seen it already.
Oz,
yeah. OZ. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds cool.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, but speaking of prisons, we're going to go in today's episode, which is a little 1981 film called Escape from New York.
Yeah, cue the theme music here. just on that theme tune. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Serving up bangers and mash. Oh.
bangers and mash. I mean, John Carpenter at his finest as well. That was a cool thing because he's a composer as well, isn't it? You know?
No. And it felt like very futuristic for the time too, kind of score to that electronic undertones to it. Yeah, it's so good. So well done. And before we get into the plot and summary like that, I think we should go into a bit of the making of the movie, the behind the scenes, behind the story, the background, stuff like that. So I think you were telling me off air that what inspired John Carpenter, like a big part of it was the 1974 Watergate scandal. So,
well, I think this was written at the time. So I think it was written at the time when he was at like film school. But yeah, it was pretty much at an ultimate low for like American trust in politics, wasn't it? You know, you'd had the Pentagon Papers, you'd had the Watergate scandal. Yeah, I don't think it really could have been lower for like American cynicism towards the president. We spoke about that in previous episodes, haven't we? Where that was the moment right there. You know, the public lost faith.
Exactly. Well, that was kind of like first time showcasing deep state, and politicians have alternative means and alternative motives, and they'll do anything to stay in power and keep control of power as well.
Yeah.
And I think to the Watergate scandal, it wasn't so much the crime itself; it was more like the covering up and the, covering his tracks and trails and things like that.
Yeah, he sent in the plumbers, didn't he?
Yeah. It was very. It's now kind of so iconic. Anytime there's a scandal comes out, it's always something Gates. You know, like in the NFL. When Tom Brady got in trouble, it was called Deflate Gates, or other stuff like that. There's always something Gate connotated to it.
That's so
it's got a good legacy to it. Yeah. Not a good legacy, but a legacy to it. So
pop culture,
yeah, pop culture, definitely. Yeah, everything's referred to that. Well, I was reading this quote here from John Carpenter. He said, like, when he wrote it, like the whole feeling of the nation was one of real cynicism about the president. So that best sums it up. How, as you said earlier, about how everyone was feeling at the time in the United States consciousness. Yeah,
yeah, and I must say on watching the film, I didn't initially get that. I said to you again off air, like I watched it 10 years ago. I loved it. I think I saw it for what it was. But in the context of doing this, I'd watched it again, you know. I'm sort of nostalgic about it. Like I've always remembered the film, but I watched it through these eyes. I'm like, there's not a lot on the surface. I'm sort of like...
It's not... It's got a basic premise, and like you can see like little nods here and there to things like that. But yeah, you wouldn't... I think too, because it came out in 81, you always think of 80s movies and action heroes. You're not associating with the times of the 70s, are you? Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not. I find it very like archetypal, right? It's almost like, but doing the research for this and listening to John Carpenter, he almost said, yeah, it's a country, it's a western. Well, and then I watched it again through those eyes. Okay, fair enough. I can see sort of Snake Plissken as that Clint Eastwood type character. I mean, I don't think there's any...
Well, it's funny. The first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is basically Clint Eastwood off Wish, basically. But then that's the whole point, though, right?
Well,
yeah.
Apparently the script was written with Clint Eastwood in mind.
Yeah, I heard that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. Yeah.
And then you've got Lee Van Cleef from like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He was sort of like, he's very, very villainous, right? The way he looks, but he's sort of in charge of the police. But I guess... the authority of the police are the kind of the bad guys in this story, right? And that would have been a relatively new thing for like the authoritarian state would have been a new thing for people in that time. I would guess, right?
Yeah, like a complete they would have seen riots and stuff happening, but not like on the scale of complete police control of a whole area and like big an essential part of the government, right?
Yeah. And then you've got the Duke, who's just pretty much the stock bad guy, right? Like if you asked ChatGPT to make you a bad guy, it'd probably be him, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange movie in that way. Like, there's so many good aspects and cool dystopian themes to it, and like the atmosphere and setting is amazing. But I find some of the characters and the attire they wear very weird. Like especially the underground creatures when they come out and they're like
the crazies.
The crazies, yeah.
What's their end game? Are they cannibals or what?
Well, they come out. Was it once a month? They say in the film.
Oh, they were short of food. So is that implying that they're cannibals?
Yeah, but then, but just the way they move, they're like some kind of mutants or something. I don't know. It's very strange. Yeah,
it didn't really explore it, did it?
Yeah,
I've got a problem with the movie in a few parts where it like just touches on things and like, oh yeah, that happens. Like, yeah, but why?
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess you kind of have to just accept the movie for what it is, and I think that's a mistake I made watching it again.
Yeah, definitely.
But we just done Children of Men, and I mean, everywhere you fucking looked at Children of Men, it's like there's world building, or there's a point, or there's a reason why it's there. Where this is like. Yeah.
Well, we talked
exact opposite.
Well, sorry, on Children of Men, we argued about that one Deus Machina moment in it, whether it is or not. With this film, it's full of it. every
no arguments here.
No argument there. Yeah, it's set in stone. Interesting too. I was just reading before we came to air that like he chopped this around a bit, the script and the film to different studios, and at the time, I think you were saying too that people everyone was sick of the president being a bad guy kind of trope from other films and narratives at the time.
Which is sad because I guess when this was written, it would have been right in that time. But he sort of moved away from it, didn't he? And he put the script on the back burner. I think you mentioned he'd already made a movie that was...
Yeah, he made it. I can't remember what movie it was called, but yeah, he made a movie where it wasn't critically well received and it didn't make any money. So he was kind of a bit protective of the script and wanted to... What's
it like, once bitten, twice shy almost?
Yeah, exactly like that. And a lot of people like at the time too felt it was too like violent, too scary, and a very strange premise as well. Because I think all the popular movies at the time were very like you said, like I think you said off air, like Taxi Driver and stuff like that. They were kind of the big movies at the time, people taking off. Yeah,
but it's funny. It's heavily inspired by Taxi Driver as well, right?
Yeah, there's definitely those elements to it.
The elements that I guess Taxi Driver, you're seeing the urban decay of New York, and you're seeing like the city just fall into the hands. I guess the societal decay and someone taking the law into his own hands, almost.
Yeah. Or disenfranchised from the Vietnam War as well. It has its own tones to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Taxi Driver is a much better movie than this.
Oh, it's on the same milk. Definitely not. Well, it's Martin Scorsese says he had his best, right?
Oh yeah.
And Robert De Niro too.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that too, how we always associate directors and actors with certain, films and directions where you'd say Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, they're like joined at the hip. You'd say also too, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell are joined at the hip.
John Carpenter and Kurt Daddy.
Yeah, Kurt Daddy. Yeah. Why do we call him Kurt Daddy?
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Well, one night I came to your place or something and...
Well, the basis of our relationship is probably, look, we met at university.
Yeah.
But what really brought us together, I suppose, was the love of shit movies, right?
Yeah, watching good B-grade movies, yeah. Or C-grade in some cases.
Yeah, a lot of cases.
Yeah. And we decided, for some reason, I don't know how it came about, but we decided to watch Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn in it.
Yeah.
And then there's a particular scene, because the whole premise of the movie is so stupid. She falls off a ship, gets amnesia or something, and he...
she's like some high life socialite. It's a bit uptown girl, Yeah,
uptown, exactly, yeah. And she's like married to some billionaire or something, yeah. And then she falls off the ship, but then no one notices it. And then
gets amnesia.
And he's like a single father of like 3 kids or something.
Working class man,
in those denim pants. Oh, Kurt Daddy. But there's one particular scene, he rescues her and takes it on board, and he domesticates her in a way. Like, it's very like... bit sexist and wouldn't work in this today and age, would it?
Nah,
yeah.
Back then you wouldn't have given it a second thought. But
yeah, but there's one particular scene where he's got her in the bedroom, hasn't he? And he's like, husband has certain needs and this kind of thing.
Love, Kurt Daddy's he didn't look after you out of the corners of his heart.
It had that kind of feel to it. We're like, oh, this is getting a bit. There's no consent here, kind of vibes, yeah.
Nah, love, yeah.
So
ever since then, he's become Kurt
Daddy, yeah. Or it's funny too, because like Kurt Russell, he's one of those actors, like he can be really good in a movie, but then become really shit as well. Like he's I think I was reading too, like within the span of 2 and 3 years, he got nominated for a Golden Globe, then also nominated for a Raspberry. I'm like, oh, doesn't that sum up his career perfectly?
That really does sum up his career, yeah.
But, well... Also, too, on Kurt Russell, like, I didn't realise this before doing research for the film, that he was actually, like, a Disney star.
Yeah, he was a Disney kid. They thought he was, like, too soft for the role. I think they wanted Tommy Lee Jones, I believe.
Yeah, it was, like, Tommy Lee Jones and Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
And, Carpenter was adamant not to have Charles Bronson because he was too old for the time. Like, he wanted... And then he was worried, too, because Charles Bronson was a very established actor at that period of time, and he felt that... There'd be some certain clauses, and my character can't look weak, or he can't go. It would change the whole direction of the film, because you see that a lot of actors have those clauses in it. So he was like, "No, I want someone that I can mold and make it into the character I want it to be, and stick to the basic premise of the film, and not have any alterations." So, and he worked, from what I read too, Carpenter worked with Kurt Russell in the Elvis television movie. And that's the first time they collaborated together, and he really liked him as an actor and thought he had a lot of, a lot of directions and play different types of characters.
Yeah, I think really felt that he could break the mold and play a tough guy, which hats off to John Carpenter, because I only think of Kurt Russell as a tough guy now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and to Kurt's credit too, he took the role very seriously. He started doing weight training, dieting, worked on his athletic ability as well. So, I mean, by today's standards, he doesn't look too muscular, but I guess from what you saw him previously, like, he looks lean and cut, doesn't he? Yeah.
That's the thing. I think everybody looked, in the 60s and 70s, everybody seemed to look skinny, didn't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot to do with well, I guess that's the time, is food insecurity and things like that. I guess it was education and everything, but it's very noticeable when you look back in films, like particularly the 70s, I feel like everyone looked just, I'm not going to say malnourished, but...
Well, we were talking about Taxi Driver before, that scene where Robert De Niro has his shirt off and stuff. Yeah, he's very skinny, very not muscular at all. Like it's too, back then, there was no... People like Arnold Schwarzenegger were like freaks of nature. Like no one ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, now that's kind of become commonplace, and everyone knows the tricks of the trade to looking like that. So it's kind of like desired. Where I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger came out bigger, like it was Conan the Barbarian and Terminator and stuff. That's when that stuff started taking off. So where the big muscles and action hero tropes started.
That's it.
Well, funny enough, this came out before that stuff too. So yeah, he's kind of like the last skinny hero in a way, isn't he?
He is.
Well, anti-hero, sorry.
Yeah, anti-hero. Yeah. But no, he's. I guess the character of Snake Plissken has gone on to he's gone on to influence old Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. The character.
Yeah,
Solid.
Hideo Kojima was a big fan of the film, and the first one was Metal Gear Solid. Came out in the. Is it Snatcher? I can't remember.
It's like a stealth game. I think it came out like 87.
87, yeah, 87, 88, yeah, around that time. So. No, it's a nice little nod to the character, and you can see like the influences definitely from the film, like the way his demeanor and his mannerisms and stuff like that.
Wonder why they went with the name Solid Snake.
Yeah, very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, love.
Yeah,
Kurt Daddy's got a Solid Snake for you, love.
Yeah.
But actually, sorry on that. So Snake Plissken, he was actually. Did you know he came up with the name? Yeah, so like there was a guy he went to film school with, so when he's writing the script, and he would tell him like his friend at film school would tell him of a guy that he went to school with, and he was like the high school badass. And his name was like, it was something Plissken, but he said, "Call me Snake." So
the silly one,
he's just like the quintessential like high school tough guy, like, "Oh, your lunch money, nerd!" Like he'd lift up the nerd and drain his pockets of money and shit.
Yeah. Throw him in the lockers and stuff. Yeah.
He's like that's kind of like he based him off. I'm like, I love it.
It's funny. Some of the most iconic character inspired by some random side person in someone's life. Yeah, it's always funny when that happens. Yeah.
Superb.
I was reading too. Apparently, so Russell described his character as like obviously mercenary. So his fighting style was a combination of Bruce Lee, the Exterminator, and Darth Vader. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting kind of mix to the...
Darth Vader really have a fighting style?
We just use the Force, didn't he? That was about it, yeah. Anyway. I can kind of see a bit of the Bruce Lee stuff, but nothing too... Like, when the fighting scenes happen, it's very quick and to the point. There's no, like, long, drawn-out stuff besides the ring scene. Besides that, yeah.
The ring scene.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about it later on, but yeah. And interesting enough, too, because... Kurt Russell also thought it would be a good idea to have an eye patch on the character to make him more authentic or badass. So, I mean, it does work.
Nothing says badass like an eye patch.
Yeah. You don't mess with him.
Nah, see, the anti-hero thing, not normally the guy with the eye patch is the bad guy. So, he's like, Kurt Daddy, changing up the status quo.
Yeah. Gotta love it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the setting of the film is set in New York City, but interesting enough, most of it was filmed in the city of St. Louis, we were reading before. So, and I think around late 70s, like a fire broke out.
In 1976.
Yeah, fire broke out in the city of St. Louis and had a lot of that decayed buildings and burnt out establishments everywhere. So they thought that'd been a really good location to film there because they didn't have the budget to film in New York City. So
I think it was a budget of what, 5 million, 6 million?
6 million.
It would have taken all their budget basically to film there. I think the only scene that they shot was the intro with the
Statue of Liberty
when the helicopter's coming through, and then it does that quick sort of fade into the next shot. Also,
too, they filmed. They apparently, I was reading too, it was the first film shot at the Statue of Liberty on location.
Really?
Because no one really had asked permission for it before. So he thought, I'll ask and see how it goes, and they gave him the green light. So that's pretty... Because you know that scene where they're walking through and you see the Statue of Liberty in the background, I think, at the start, with a military presence?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was all filmed on location there.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. And while it was funny too, Carpenter was saying he had to become a night owl during the filming of the film because filming was about 3 or 4 months, and it was basically he was filming from 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning, and just when the filming would stop, the sun would be rising, and he's like, it threw his body clock out. Because the whole premise is set at nighttime. Besides that one scene in when the fighting scene with in the ring, that's the time it's really daytime. All the rest of it's at nighttime. So. No, I feel the night setting really sets the tempo and the atmosphere of the film, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a good choice.
Yeah, it does. And on the atmosphere of the film, I must say, I watched it. I say watching it again 10 years after I watched it the first time, and I'm sort of like, it's a bit Thought it was a bit silly, it's a bit cartoonish with all the gangs wearing their, like, I just found it like all their matching uniforms.
It's like a hybrid of the Warriors and Mad Max or something, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought it was a bit silly, but then in doing the research for this episode, I guess the one thing it does get right about, it's not huge on social commentary, this movie, but the one thing it does get right is the actual way that New York looks. Because I guess the 70s in New York, you don't realize, it's only in the research. I actually didn't realize how bad New York was.
No, it's crime riddled. Yeah,
yeah. Like, I guess it was the deindustrialization. I guess people moving out of cities and things being cleared. I've always thought of New York as like Wall Street and the financial district. I didn't really know it was a center of manufacturing.
Yeah, also too. Obviously, we were born in the 90s and growing up in a time when New York City was always the glitz and the glamour, and if I can make it in New York, I can make it anywhere. And it's all like romanticized and kind of very gentrified too in the 2000s, where back then it was very dark and gritty. I remember my old man, he went to New York in the 80s, and he told me, oh no, it felt very dangerous, and they were advised to, like, when you went outside, you'd always go in a group, never go by yourself, because you just get people pickpocketing or stealing and violent crimes and stuff. Yeah,
well, hence why you'd see movies like Taxi Driver or The Warriors and stuff in a bit of a new light. Yeah, like just create. I even like the city had lost so much. It was like it was on the verge of collapsing. They'd lost so much money. I think they'd cut 10,000 police officers. The fire department. It was like they'd cut like garbage collectors. There was garbage like up and down the street, just piling up. But it felt like the city was about to implode.
Oh, and then also too, the mafia was controlling big districts of it. Like they had representatives in the construction industry, and they controlled the garbage.
Yeah, they were sort of taking that power vacuum.
Yeah, they controlled all the unions and things like that too, and they could grind the city to a halt and hold them at ransom as well. So there's all that time period. And you see films like the Batman series with Gotham. Like Gotham is based on New York City, right? And you see that it has that lot of especially the Joker and some of the older Batman. He has that great grimy underfeel to it. That's what New York was like back then.
Well, I feel like the most recent, the Joker that came with Joaquin Phoenix in 2019.
It
probably showed it the best.
That's new, because the setting was in the 70s, wasn't it? For the Joker,
must have been. Yeah,
and that has definitely that feel to it. So now you can see where the inspiration was, and John Carpenter was seeing it going in that same direction. He couldn't see it getting better, right? He was thinking, it's only going to get worse from here.
Well, yeah, and he was right to think so. I mean, even I guess you're looking at like Central Park. Central Park was like you don't go there. You particularly don't go there at night. There was all sort of sections of it like closed off, and like it was like a drug market, and like pretty much walking through Central Park was an absolute death wish.
Yeah.
It's almost like fucking feudal England or something. Like the way, it's so odd. But yeah, there was this general belief that I think even when people used to, so tourists and stuff used to come in, I think disgruntled police officers and public servants and stuff at the airport would hand out brochures saying "Welcome to Fear City," saying like, "Don't go out at night, don't do this, don't do that." It was one, like, protection almost in protest too, and yeah, it was so. When you see this film, it's not as if it's probably a little bit too close to home for people.
Oh yeah,
for
definitely.
The government to say, "Oh, look, let's just make New York a massive city, a massive prison. Just build a wall around it. We've lost it."
Yeah, it's not worth fighting over anymore.
Yeah, all right, it was slightly over the top, but not too far, I don't think.
Yeah, obviously it is a bit far-fetched in some parts, but because I can't imagine them building some 50-foot wall around the whole. You haven't been in New York before, have you?
No, I have.
I
was 6 or 7.
Oh, you don't remember?
I wouldn't remember it. No.
Well, I went when I was around. I think I was like 19 or 20, and that's the first time I've ever been in a city where I felt really overwhelmed. Because I've been in Sydney, and I've been to other cities as well. But yeah, you really feel that concrete jungle, and the place is huge. Like the avenues and the streets and stuff. Like, it take you a couple of days just to explore the whole place. So you can. I was imagining, trying to build like this massive brick wall around the whole area, like it'd be almost impossible. But yeah. But the premise itself is really cool.
Yeah, I guess it was genuine sort of fear and anxiety at the time, right? People would have seen New York as what it's portrayed in the movie anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or especially people in America itself, as opposed to people from overseas. Because we always have said before, we always view New York as this amazing, the center of the world kind of city with Wall Street and the Empire State Building and Statue of Liberty, right?
Yeah. And I guess there's a lot of talk in this movie. I think John Carpenter notably didn't, this came out in 1981, the same year as like Reagan came to power, and I think there was a lot of rhetoric that Reagan was giving at the start. Some of his, cutting social funding and all that sort of stuff for the economy, which I think was a genuine fear. So, it makes a point at the start of the movie talking about, crime's risen 400%. We're slight over exaggeration, but I think the reason it's set in 1997 because I think he genuinely believed the city was just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, ironically enough, it kind of like the only time it kind of really turned around was in the 90s when Rudy Giuliani became the mayor, when he like went pretty hard on crime and had a zero tolerance policy with it all. And I mean, parts of it you'd argue was way over the top, but then it did help out in other aspects and made it a lot more safer city. So it's one of those things, right? So I guess too, before we get into the plot, I was reading too that James Cameron was one of the special effects artists on the film.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see why some of the stuff has dated pretty well these days, with like the neon lights and even the computer graphics. Apparently, that wasn't actually real computer graphics. They visually made it themselves because they couldn't, because technology back then, the computer
would have blown too much of
it
would have blown the budget.
That would have been the budget, just that, yeah, because it was just so and he helped design. They used it's called the wire frame effect, the way they done it, and it looks even great today. Like as in it looks like the 80s, but like you wouldn't.
And then the glider scene itself doesn't look great.
No.
But the inside of the glider, yeah, on the screens.
Yeah, it's the screen part. Yeah, that part. Yeah, that's very dated. But you would just think, that's just a normal computer graphic from the 80s. You wouldn't have thought it was actually handmade and visualized. Yeah, very well done. So,
what do they say? Necessity being the mother of invention.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Or sometimes you see that a lot too with like video games back in the 80s, because it was such limited technology, so they had to make the most of what they could, and it made them become a lot more creative. So another examples like this. So
yeah.
Well, I guess that's enough on the backstory and the filming and how he came up with the plot and synopsis. But I reckon we should go read into it.
We should. Yeah. There's a lot more. There's a lot more than it seems on the surface, and I didn't think we'd be going into this much depth, to be quite honest with you. But here we go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
All right. So the plot. So in 1988, amidst war between the United States and an alliance of China and the Soviet Union, Manhattan has been converted into a maximum security prison to address a 400% increase in crime. The island is walled off from the outside world and under heavy police surveillance. In 1997, while flying President John Harker to a peace summit in Hartford, Air Force One is hijacked by a terrorist. The president is handcuffed with a briefcase and put into an escape pod that drops into Manhattan as the aircraft crashes. Police are dispatched to rescue the president. Romero, a subordinate of the Duke of New York, who is a powerful crime boss, warns the president has been captured and will be killed if any further rescue attempts are made. Meanwhile, a former Special Forces soldier, Snake Plissken, is about to be imprisoned in Manhattan after being convicted of robbing the Federal Reserve. Snake accepts a deal from the police commissioner, Bob Hawke, in which he will be pardoned in exchange for rescuing the president in time for the summit. To ensure his cooperation, Hawke has Snake injected with micro-explosives that will sever his carotid arteries in 22 hours. If Snake is successful, Hawke will neutralize the explosives. Snake uses a stealth glider to land atop the World Trade Center, then follows the signal of the president's tracking device to a vaudeville theater, only to find the tracker on the arm of a deluded vagrant. Snake is convinced the president is dead, but Hawke warns him he will be killed if he returns without the president. Inspecting the escape pod, Snake is ambushed by dozens of starving crazies, and his radio is destroyed. He is rescued by Cabby, a jovial character who drives a taxi. Cabby takes Snake to Harold Brain Hellman, an advisor of the Duke and a former associate of Snake's. An engineer, Brain has established a small gasoline refinery fueling the city's remaining cars. He tells Snake the Duke plans to lead a mass escape across the 69th Street Bridge, using the president as a human shield. Snake forces Brain and his girlfriend Maggie to lead him to the Duke's hideout at the Grand Central Terminal. Snake finds the president but gets shot in the leg with a crossbow bolt and is overpowered by the Duke's men. While Snake is forced to fight against Duke's champion Slag in a death match, Brain and Maggie kill Romero and flee with the president. Snake kills Slag and finds the trio trying to escape in the glider. Inmates drop the glider off the roof, forcing the group back down to street level, where they are confronted by the Duke and his followers. Cabby arrives and offers to take them across the bridge. Cabby reveals he bartered with Romero for a cassette tape that contains information about nuclear fusion, intended to be an international peace offering. The president demands the cassette, but Snake retains it. The Duke gives chase, setting off mines as he tries to catch up. Brain guides Snake, but they hit a mine and Cabby is killed. As they continue on foot, Brain accidentally stumbles onto another mine. A distraught Maggie sacrifices herself to slow down the Duke. Snake and the president reach the containment wall, and guards hoist the president up. The Duke opens fire, killing the guards before Snake subdues him. A Snake is being lifted up by the rope. The Duke attempts to shoot him, but the President takes up a dead guard's rifle and kills the Duke. Snake is hoisted to safety, and Hulk's doctor removes the explosive in his neck with seconds to spare. As the President prepares for a televised speech to the leaders at the summit meeting, he thanks Snake for saving him, but only offers a half-hearted regret for the deaths of his colleagues. Snake walks away in disgust. Hulk offers Snake a job as his deputy, but he keeps walking. The President's speech commences, and he plays the cassette. To his embarrassment, it only plays Cabby's favourite song, Bandstand Boogie. As Snake walks away a free man, he pulls the real cassette from his pocket and destroys it.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, what a film! Yeah. What a plot! I do like that ending. It's walking off in the background with the tape and destroys it, and yeah, my job is done. You know.
Yeah. Snake doesn't like society, and if you thought there was any chance of him going back in and being working for the man, surely mistaken.
No, he's got his principles and his pride. He's moving on.
I don't know what's to be gained from that tape of destroying it if it's an international peace offering, but we will get into that later.
Yeah, that's down the track, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with just the start of it. When I do like the start where how it sets up the premise of to let the audience know what to expect or what the setting is. So it's set in 1988. They decided the crime was out of control. They eroded a massive wall around the whole of Manhattan Island. So then we as a viewer know, okay, this is what's happened. This sets the tone. We know what's going forward, basically. I do like that, but then at the same time, I think it would have been really good too to have newsreels and like live showings of riots breaking out in New York City and crime happening, because then that would have really showed the audience that it's kind of left with no choice but to do this. Where like as you said earlier, like New York's become this lost city now, like it's not worth fighting for anymore. So we'll keep the people in there as they are, lock them up, and any other crime figures or any other crime breaking out throughout the rest of the United States, will throw them in this cesspool, right? So and let them just thrive and rot there.
I'm the same. Yeah, there's many points in this movie I watch them and feel but can you go into a bit more depth of that? Like, I've just got to accept that this is the way it is. Fine, and maybe that's just the sign of the times, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the budget too, right?
Yeah, that's it.
But I don't think, a newsreel would have cost too much money. Yeah, just even just using like archive footage of a random riot or something, it would be really cool. And you're like, would have set the tone there. So also too, like it kind of like it's amidst the war. I like to wish it explored more this war between was it the China and the Soviets have some alliance, and it's against America, and they're going to the summit. But who's got the upper hand in the war? What's happening with it? Like,
and they mentioned like Snake in the glider, like just like Leningrad. So was there a head-on assault of like the Soviet Union, or did something happen there? Or
you kind of hinted that, and you're like, I'd like to know what that was about. Yeah. We think too, when we've talked about in previous episodes about using nuclear weapons. You think if America did some bloody ground mission there, it would have set something off like that. Yeah,
mutually assured destruction would dictate that.
But then I guess maybe Snake is undercover operative that no one knows about it. But
could be. Everybody knows who Snake is. Though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm conflicted. So yeah. No, it's a bit, as I said, like the premise and the feel of the movie is really cool, and you want to explore the other parts of it. But then, it's kind of handcuffed to the escape plot, isn't it? Yeah,
it's like the backdrop. The movie just feels hollow to me. But perhaps I'm expecting too much from it. Now, as I said before, if I see it as like a Western, or like if I'm just accept the movie for what it is, I'm okay with it. But
if you just take it on face value, you think, it's just a cool action thriller movie with a cool setting, but when you want to do something like where we explore it a bit more and find out the references and the subtleties of the world, you're like, go down this avenue more, or try and go down this path, as opposed to just being like, it happened, move on. And you're like, all right.
It's just the backdrop. All the dystopian stuff is just the backdrop for the plot, for the rescue mission.
Exactly. Yeah. Nah. Well, you and me, we find the backdrop more fascinating.
Yeah. And I suppose you've got to take your hat off to it in a sense, because that's probably the common thing of all this stuff, right? We see things and we want to explore more. So. I guess it's done that job, but it just leaves me with more frustration out of anything.
It does, yeah. I think what it does well too, it establishes that authoritarian police state brilliantly at the start, where you're seeing those people escape, right? Because in that intro where they're talking about the bridges are mined and there's police presence everywhere, there's a wall around, and you see those people escaping on that life rafts out in the harbour, and then the police in the helicopter come down, put the searchlight on them, and say turn around. Then literally like in 2 seconds later, they just shoot them dead. Like not even, it was barely a warning, right? It was just that was mowed down, and that really sets the tone of like you understand. Then okay, they're not here to be messed with. They're not taking no pun intended, not taking any prisoners.
That's right. They're not here to fornicate with arachnids.
No, definitely not. No.
Yeah. I guess one thing I picked up in the beginning when they talk about the plane going over, and I think, what do they call it, David 14, and it's flying into their airspace. But you see Hulk, or Van Cleef's character, he arrives in a limousine, which I always thought there's that sort of wealth disparity. It's a small thing, but like, why would he be arriving in a limousine?
Oh, I think it's trying to say that the authoritarian ruling class kind of have the power of everything and the prestige. So like they're like central government figures. He's like the governor of the prison, isn't he?
Oh, he's the commissioner.
Commissioner. Yeah.
So he arrives, and then it's at that point where you see the there's a plane coming into restricted airspace. At this point, all they know is it's David 14,
and it's not responding, right?
It's not responding.
Yeah.
But then it does respond, and again, you see like it's this real like proper Marxist sort of rhetoric where I think it's the lady. Don't ask me how she's got onto the plane and hijacked Air Force One, but let's not question the plot, can we?
Yeah.
A lone soldier, you know.
Yeah.
What do they call the soldiers of the National Liberation Front is what they call. So obviously, they this is in protest to, I guess, the authoritarian government, their imperialistic aims, and the prison state that they've created, and they want to crash Air Force One into the prison that the president's built to make a point, you know.
Oh, there we go.
So,
but ironically enough, why would you fly into the prison, killing innocent people that people are meant to be the repressed ones? That's what I don't understand. Sorry, I'm questioning the plot.
Question the plot.
Anyway, So the whole point was the plane going down, but yeah.
So somehow she gets on this. She hijacks Air Force One. Don't ask me how.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because that scene where it's flying and it has that, it shows like the live using the computer graphics. I'm thinking, oh, is it going to Twin Towers?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Jeez, that's foreshadowing. Jesus Christ! Like, but no, it ends up in the building next to it. Yeah,
and you really think it probably would have made more of a point, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it just crashes into some random building.
To the side. Yeah, but you don't really see the explosion. I think they didn't have the budget, assumes that's why it has the computer graphics. But that's when we see the scene too, where the president's got the handcuffs him the briefcase to his arm, and gets in the red escape pod.
The red escape pod,
and it says it's the president's one too, because it has that big presidential logo on it.
It does. Just
not very smart too, going to enemy territory having that logo on it, because it'd be red rag, a bit of a red flag, right?
Yeah, it would be, but
yeah,
as I say, did they ever think this plane was going to get hijacked?
No, definitely not. No.
But yeah, so I guess that's where that happens. They find out it's Air Force One. It goes in the crashes in, and here we are. Then we got the Hulk and the police go in. I found that a pretty cool scene. When the helicopters go down and they all start running off the helicopters into the prison,
like tactical units going through.
Yeah. That was pretty sweet. The way at this point in the movie it starts building the world, and like the music and the tone of it is I really like.
Yeah.
And then his right hand man Romero comes out with the president's finger, doesn't he?
He's named after the director of J.R. Romero.
Oh, of Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, yeah, that's an homage to him.
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living, yeah, he's named after that.
That's
that
cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah. So at that point he comes out. Obviously, he's got the president's finger with the ring on there, so And what does he say? If you're not in the air in 30 seconds, he dies. If you try and come back in, he dies. So he obviously sets the tone for everything. Now, was he in with these? Was the Duke and his people in cahoots with the People's National Liberation Army, or is this just opportunism?
Ooh, you opened up a can of worms there. I'm assuming it's opportunism, because they want to use the president as a bargaining chip to get out, right? That's the whole point. So I think it's just we were talking about coincidences before. Like you've got at a time, this Snake Plissken character is going in there, then the president plane happens to fall in that location, and then at the same time they want to get the use the president to get out. Like, it's all falling into place, isn't it?
I know. You could have all these plans. Yeah. You could have all these plans, and you just how do you even plan for the fact that Snake Plissken?
Yeah, sometimes the stars just align. Don't
they? He just makes a deal. It's a bit like Under Siege 2. The terrorist bloke, I forgot his name, but he's English and he's good at hacking. So he was a villain.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, he's got English accent. That sets it up.
It does. But in we are going off topic. But in Under Siege 2, when his whole elaborate plan to hijack this train and everything, but little did he know, just his luck. that Steven Seagal's character was on the train.
Oh,
Just.
it's unlucky, you know.
I know it's not your your luck's not in and your luck's not in.
No.
It's a bit like that in this movie.
It is, yeah. Well, then we go to the scene too when we first meet Snake Plissken himself, right? And he's walking through the the prison entrance.
He's going into the demarcation zone, isn't he? Oh, cute daddy.
Yeah, cute daddy. Yeah, and going through, and he's got the eye patch on, looking pretty badass as well. You know,
He is.
You see, he's got the shirt on, so you can see he's Oh, no, he's got the jacket on at this point, but saying later on when they give him the brief, don't they? They give him the rundown. You know, yeah, this is the situation, Snake. The president's been kidnapped, and he's like, not my president, something like that. Like one of those things. Which president? Yeah, like being a smart ass, and
Yeah.
So you're getting the feeling like, oh, this Snake Plissken character, he's not to be messed with, and
He doesn't like working for the man.
Man, no, he doesn't, and he doesn't take no for an answer sometimes too. You know,
That's right.
Yeah, he's doing it under duress. You know, but he'll get the job done, but he's gonna, you know, make sure you know that it's not there's not a price that doesn't come with it. You know, yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Well, then that sets up the premise too. With he gets offered a full. We find out he's been jailed for life, sentenced to New York City prison for breaking into the Reserve Bank in Denver, Colorado, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and so for what reason? Is he disillusioned from the war, or did something happen? But
yeah,
it doesn't explore that.
Well, I think you were saying earlier off air that they had initially had the scene filmed. I think John Carpenter filmed it where you see Snake break into the prison,
Yes.
and then apparently
He breaks into the Federal Reserve.
the Federal Reserve, and he breaks out. Sorry, he's one of his comrades like gets taken down or shot.
He gets killed. Yeah,
gets killed, and it kind of shows Snake's humanity in him. He's not that kind of bit of that deadpan, serious, cynical character in that way. Yeah, so it shows that he actually does have a bit of said for humanity in him. So. Yeah, I think the reason they left that out too because it would have made it a bit confusing for the whole film premise.
Well, he tested it with an audience, and I think it was an audience. He mentions it was his friends, and they watched it, and they got about halfway through the movie, and I think they were a bit confused as to what it was about.
Yeah,
I think it's some heist movie, or they did.
I can kind of see that, I guess. Yeah,
I can too, but I feel like I wouldn't have minded it, to be honest with you, because you can kind of. I guess it would make the point of why Snake is the way Snake is, but I don't think it addresses why he was robbing the bank. That's
what I want to know. Yeah. Well, did you know? We find out later on that people betray him and stuff like that. Was it something that happened? Or he's getting revenge on the authoritarian government for something where he's on a mission and they betrayed him or they didn't look after him or something like that. Who knows? Yeah, it could. Yeah. But that's the thing that we want to explore that, but it doesn't answer the question.
And it's something I think we'll keep coming back to in this film.
Yeah, it is. It's
constantly
frustrating.
does that.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
But actually, what we have is so actually when he's walking into the demarcation zone, he's walking in, and I think the announcer over the thing says, we'll be leaving leaving in 2 hours. If you choose to. They use the word terminate?
Yeah, terminate.
Self-terminate. Yeah. Please let your nearest guard know, sort of thing. So it gives them that option of going in.
Yeah.
Or not, which you don't... In the second movie, you do see people self-terminating. I think by electrocution. But it's that coldness of it.
Oh, it shows that, I've said earlier, the authoritarian regime and stuff, like, you're not... You take a chance. You're basically given a death sentence by going to New York City, so you can either just end it now or... try your best in there in the wild jungle there, basically. Isn't it? Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of premise, but then it sets the tone of this real like authoritarian, no shits given kind of government, isn't it? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, they don't muck around.
They don't muck around.
Yeah, so we get to the point. Yeah, after that point, we find out. Snake finds out that the president's been kidnapped and he's a bit distant, doesn't really care about it. But then they offer him deal of a lifetime, right? But then he's going to take it because it could give him a full presidential pardon, and he takes it reluctantly because what does he say? Like basically, I'm going in there anyway, so might as well.
That's right, yeah. Not doing it for you, I'm doing it for me.
Yeah. Another thing too, I find it fascinating. I want to explore more is how do the government officials put people into New York City? Because we only know via the aircraft scene later. Like, do they just they put them on a boat and dump them at the steps of the Statue of Liberty, or do they, I don't know, go elsewhere or go through the tunnels somewhere? They've got some secret access to it. I'd like to see how that would work.
Yeah, it would have been cool to explore that. Yeah,
but unfortunately not. We don't get that answer. So we go to the point where he's getting all these, his artillery and his weaponry and his spy gear. It's so dated for this day, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I don't know why you would have some big alarm clock thing on your thing. I mean, it's like red rag to a bull for criminals and stuff when you're in there. But
This is a fucking, and there's a great scene. I fear I'm gonna not remember it at the end, but you know, it's like Hulk's like he pulls out the big mobile phone. He's like, oh yeah,
I remember that, isn't it? Yeah,
this big novelty phone. Like Jesus Christ.
Right, yeah. It's like some big inflatable thing or something. Yeah. So it's like kind of like cartoonish in a way. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
hasn't aged well that bit.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, but yeah, he's got all like the gear and he's getting all the weaponry and he's getting mercenaried up in a way, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And got was it the eagle belt, like the American eagle on it, with the homing device on it, or the tracking device?
Yeah.
Very, very cool in that way. And then suddenly they jolt Snake Plissken's neck, and we're thinking, oh, that's a bit strange. What are they doing there? But then we find out it's a tactical ploy from the old commissioner to ensure that it's like an electrical pulse explosion thing or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it'll sort of collapse his
arteries or something. Yeah. So, and 24 hours it expires too. It's always 24 hours of these kind of shows, isn't it? Yeah, it's a ticking time bomb for him.
Just in case Snake had any ideas of taking that glider and going to Canada.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
You can't do it, no.
Probably would have.
Very tactical. Well, you could have actually done that and then found someone local to try and fix it. You know, the things in his neck, but who knows? Yeah. It's a bit of a short time stream, wasn't it? So, but yeah, that kind of then sets the premise that he has to go in. He must get the president out and must get the tape. So
what it's going to do is make him stay on target.
Yeah, it is very much so. Unlike us. Yeah. So we get to the scene where he's on the rooftop, or like not the rooftop, but the taking off station, right? So he's about to take off, gets into the glider. Promises to kill the commissioner on his return, doesn't he?
He says he's going to kill Hulk when he gets back.
Yeah.
What I want to say about I guess it's clever, and I think I mentioned it before, but like Hulk is like police commissioner who he was in the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he's always like he was the villain, or I think he was the ugly in that movie. But like he would always play villains, like he was the archetype villain in like every Western film. And as I say, where John Carpenter sees this movie is like he sees it as a Western. It's clever that like you've got this guy, this archetypal bad guy, who's like the police commissioner.
Yeah.
I think it turns that whole thing on its head with that, like, you know, the authority and the authorities are the bad guys.
Well, funny too, you imagine him as in, like you said, like those old Western films, you'd have the cowboy hat and the, you know, cowboy boots, all that kind of stuff, but then he's wearing a full black uniform and got like ear piercings and stuff. Yeah. It's very, very like, I don't say it's out of character for him, but it's just strange seeing him in that kind of role, like a police commissioner.
It is strange. Initially, I thought the casting was a bit strange, but then listening to him, like, you know what? If you're making sort of that double point here,
yeah, and it makes sense. Yeah,
hats off to it. Yeah,
it'd be like seeing like Clint Eastwood as like some, I don't know, like a hippie or something. It wouldn't make sense. You'd be like, what the hell? Yeah. Actually, I reminded me a bit like seeing Michael Caine in Children of Men as that character. Like, normally you'd see him as an aristocrat, but yeah, similar to that.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So old Kurt Daddy Snake, he then flies the aircraft, and he decides they let him know the best place to land is up high, out of sight, out of mind. And I mean, I don't think the Twin Towers would be the biggest runway to land on, but I'm not going to question the plot.
Remember, Kurt Daddy did fly this glider in Leningrad, so
that's true. He got experience, so he's.
I don't know what he did there, but
he's a master tactician when it comes to flying.
Yeah, it's established that he does have experience.
I did love the scene too when he's flying through, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to land," and he's like near like the bottom of the city. I'm like, how's he going to get the direction? I'm like, I'm not going to question the plot again.
No, don't question the plot.
But then he lands.
I'm against questioning the plot on this podcast.
Yes, yeah. Well, he gets to the point where he gets the landing right, and we think, has he gone too aggressive in the landing? And it goes towards the edge. He pulls out the spike things to slow it down, and just stops in time. I'm like, there's nothing this man can't do, you know?
Nah, he's a smooth operator, old Kurt Daddy.
Oh, he is, yeah. Gets the job done, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
He gets out of the plane, goes down the elevator like level 50, wasn't it, or something they said?
Yeah, he goes.
He hotwires the elevator, doesn't he?
He does, and he gets down to ground level, and then he sees New York for what it is.
Yeah, and that's the first time we've really seen. We saw New York a bit early, but like fully on a grand scale, like the full urban decay and there's cars on fire, streets like cars flipped over, rubbish everywhere. It's just
Oh yeah, and this is the point we were making a bit earlier, where like. It wouldn't have been too far from what a lot of cities would have looked like at the time, and the decay that people would have seen, a societal collapse. I mean, you only got to look at places like Detroit now with the fall of the motor industry and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's not as if it would have been a little bit too close to home for people. I feel this particular scene.
Yeah, too. You've seen like boarded up homes and windows and things smashed and people just roaming around freely. Like you'd see people just a couple of times. You see subtly in the background, like someone was run past or just gallivanting around or something. Yeah, it's very. It kind of keeps you on edge too. Like, oh, they're going to attack him now, or they're going to do this or do that. Yeah, it sets the tone well.
It does.
Yeah. Then we get to the point too is because he's following. He's got the beacon device, so he can see exactly where the president is because he has it on his arm, and we assume that, right? So, and that's when we go to our first interaction with a side character in the movie theater.
It is,
and it's funny you were saying off air. It kind of like this is where it kind of the first time you broke immersion for you a bit.
It's the first point of the film where I feel. It lost it for me. Where like I don't, they go to the theater and there's some show playing or something, and I sort of feel I don't think it'd be like this, and I think it was put in there to be funny. I think there was I think he talks about a guy called Nick Castle who he like brought like humor and he brought like that Broadway element. So I guess there's an allegory in that, right? We knew like New York for Broadway and stuff, so this is kind of what it's fallen to. I guess there's something, but there's like these sort of funny elements that he attempted to bring in, which. They're a bit lost on me. Like I know it's a cult. Obviously, it's a cult film, and a lot of people like it. But I just feel like it takes away. You've established the fact that you could go in or you could choose death because pretty much it is like death, but it's like death going here anyway. But it just sort of that whole thing that takes it away. Like I feel like there'd be like it'd be mass shootings, or there'd be like cannibals, or there'd be like you'd see it'd be a lot worse than what it is. You know what I mean? Like we see examples in. In other societies, it doesn't take long for like looting to break. I'm sure it'd be organized, but I feel like it'd be like organized chaos. You know how you kind of see in like a prison society?
Yeah, it'd be similar to that. Or do you think he could be making a point that, the propaganda and the government control or this authoritarian control is making this area like they're kind of subhumans are all in there, but then when actually Snake gets in there, you see. Oh, there is some form of, I don't know...
Humanity
in a way. People are banding together, or they're working to something, or they're making the most of what they have, with the limited resources they have, or they need some kind of escapism as well, because like they're always on a knife edge of something breaking out.
Yeah, and possibly. And I think even you mentioned off air, I could accept if perhaps people would they just built the wall around... And the people that were stuck there were just stuck there. So maybe
because Cabby says that he was been driving a cab there for 30 years. He's a character coming up soon, sorry, but yeah, he says I've been driving this cab for 30 years. So that's obviously before the fall of New York City, as it is. So I'm assuming. Because you think too, like it was a city of what 7-8 million people. Like say they decided to suddenly you're not going to move 8 million people like. Good citizens out there in that time, people get stuck there. Or people would refuse to leave because they're home. So yeah. Again, I'm going too deep into the plot, but yeah.
This is that whole thing of the film. Like, but why? But why? I just, as the viewer, this is the first bit of the movie. I'm like that, that real opening, and it's dark, it's moody, it's mysterious, and the music's playing. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake!
And he's playing some I don't know. You see that the piano playing, they're all singing and laughing, and a bit like tee hee. So you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of very But maybe is it making the point to the juxtaposition of like ultra dark, gritty undertones into this ultra, like musical number, like because society's so decrepit that people are making the most out of it. I don't know. It's just
possibly probably seeing the good.
The good, or it's because it's kind of like the lunacy of it all kind of thing. Yeah.
And I know that these were brought in for like the humorous. It was only when Nick Castle came on board because originally these scenes weren't meant to be there. So I probably would have preferred to go down a different route.
I think overall, I agree with that point actually. Yeah, because it is like kind of it takes you out of it a bit because you you really feel like you're in that tactical unit with like Snake going in there and doing this, doing that, and you feel like everything's on a knife's edge and around the corner something can jump at you, but then it goes to that, you're like, oh, okay, this is a bit
Like it explores a little bit. Obviously, when he goes and sees the show and he goes downstairs, and this is where we first meet Cabby. You're Snake Plissken, ain't you?
That's right. Oh, it's in the theater upstairs. Yeah.
So he knows who Snake Plissken is.
Yeah. And he's been in New York the whole time, so who knows how that information got out there. Yeah.
Who knows? But he sort of... And then he goes downstairs, but you see a little bit more of like... I think there's a particular scene where there's 4 or 5 guys like... They take off a woman's top and they're like sort of throwing her around and sharing her around. And they're like pushing it. It's the one bit of it where you're like... Now that's what I think it would be like. I'm looking at... But it's on it for a second, so you don't particularly know what they're doing. I mean, you can assume what they're doing, but it's a bit He's like, oh, okay, yeah. It kind of drags, and then he's sort of walking through, and
interesting enough too. 'Cause they established that like Snake doesn't interact with it as well. He just ignores it and moves on.
Yeah.
It kind of shows that like, he's that kind of that anti-hero thing where it's like, oh, he's
nothing to do with
me. I don't care. It's going to be this is the way it is.
Yep.
Yeah, stay on target basically, right? Yeah.
I haven't got time for this. Well, literally, he doesn't have time, does he?
And I always found the next scene very strange because we think it's the president, right? Because he's like, but the guy's like lying backwards, and then some random guy's just punching him.
Yeah.
But it kind of has this implication like it could be like a rape scene or something. The way that it's positioned.
Yeah.
I don't know
okay,
if you saw that. It just because it's in a bathroom and there's a mirror there. It just has that real creepy like vibe to it.
Yeah.
But it's not actually. But the way it's just set up, I just got that impression when I first saw it. I'm like, oh, this is very what's going on here kind of thing. But then he kind of just pushes the guy out of the way, and then there's some homeless guy or something.
Yeah,
just there.
Crazy guy.
Guy. Yeah, you're just like, oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's when we first established because Snake's got a walkie-talkie on him, and he lets the commissioner know like, your president's dead. He's not alive anymore, kind of thing. Yeah. He's like, no, he's still out. We got to find him basically because that's when then it kind of sets up the point. It's not really about the president. It's about what the president was carrying.
Well, it's about the tape. Yeah, you genuinely believe if they got the tape out, yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
it's kind of hinted that it's like a nuclear fusion. Something
to do with nuclear fusion. Like, have you ever heard of nuclear fusion?
Yeah, and it kind of leaves it vague. I was reading too that Carpenter kept it vague on like it was a plot device. It wasn't meant to be anything significant or explored about. It's just like he needed something there to make sense as a way where. Instead of going like, oh yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. And we hear that, like, okay, because it kind of like it's very vague. It's very just like, oh, it could be nuclear fusion. It could be, I don't know, codes or something, or who knows? Yeah,
fair enough.
It could be the meaning of life. Who knows?
And this is where, and then obviously we go back onto the street, and I guess this is now where he's sitting there contemplating what to do. I think he's gone back to Air Force One. He doesn't know what to do, and that's at the point we see we're introduced to the crazies. Aren't we? When they start knocking on the manholes and everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's and then they're moving around like creatures and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a bit. We only hear of the crazies previously before Kurt Daddy goes in, and he's telling him, they control the underground.
Yeah, and then that's right. And but when they come out initially, and he's like kind of in the background, they don't notice him. It's kind of like they just focus on scavenging and finding whatever materials they need. And that's when he goes into that side, like, was it cafe or
almost,
bar?
Yeah.
And he runs into that, apparently that because he runs into a woman there, and she kind of like lets him know, like, oh, the crazies are around, and as long as you don't make noise, they won't do anything to you, kind of thing. Apparently, in real life, that was Kurt Russell's wife at the time.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so that's why you can feel the chemistry between them in that scene, you know?
Okay, yeah, and she's mentioning, they're coming out end of the month, they're starving, coming for food, and then he mentions like she's with the Turks or something.
Yeah, some other side faction. Yeah,
the Turks in Final Fantasy VII.
Maybe that's a reference to it. Who knows?
Could be the same universe.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was earlier. No. Oh, maybe Final Fantasy VII is a reference to it.
Yes, I'm saying, and maybe they're paying homage to it.
They could be. Yeah, they could be.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know how because we don't see them, but anyway.
Yeah. But then he kind of he kind of tells like, oh, I'm looking for the president kind of thing, and then she's like, oh, take me, I'll do anything.
She knows who Snake Plissken is.
Yeah. She does, and then she kind of implies like, "Oh, I'll do anything to get out," wasn't it? So that's when you think that's going to happen. But then
you say she wants to get her hands on Kurt Daddy's Soul Snake. Doesn't
yeah, it definitely implied that. But then, out of nowhere, I think she makes a noise or something, and then that's when the crazies come, right?
They take her down. Yeah,
they take her down. Yeah, that was a bit morbid actually, the way it's done.
Yeah.
It feels like like you're in I don't know, some kind of pit or something, coming freezing from the undead are coming grabbing you like a zombie or something.
Yeah, it's almost like a Romero reference.
It is,
from like Night of the Living Dead or something.
Yeah, it is like that. Yeah, and
then there's what I do when now it's a chase scene. I find the chase scene pretty intense. The way the score is,
Yeah, so as you said, the chase scene. Yeah, that's really cool. And then you can see like Kurt Russell. Like this is like where his fitness and training regime came into it, because he looks pretty athletic in a lot of it, like, climbing the windows and going up and down the ladders and stuff and fighting them off, and that's really cool.
Yeah, really cool. And he obviously gets through, and they feel like they've got him cornered, and he gets down, loses radio contact. He loses his radio.
He drops his radio, doesn't he?
He does. Makes a point of that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Zooms in on it right there. So
it does. It does.
One thing I did find a bit stupid though is when he's at the top there and he like shoots like the wall and goes through it. I'm like, oh come on, that's a bit. I'm not going to question the plot, but yeah, as I said earlier.
He goes down into the alleyway. He's being trailed.
Oh, he's done for, surely.
Surely.
No, there's no... Yeah, the rescue mission's over now. Yeah. The president's going to die now, so...
It's going to end there.
Then what happens now?
Oh, miraculously, Cabby arrives.
Out of nowhere, isn't he? Yeah.
I don't know how he knew that's where he went. But...
And normally, as he said, he doesn't go in that district part of town, but he had to see that show.
He did.
He did. So just in time for Snake Plissken. Oh, how lucky is he?
He is. And and that's the way we find out that old Cabby's been in there driving his cab for 30 years.
Years, yeah. Knows the streets back to front, basically. And he uses a Molotov cocktail, doesn't he? A Molotov cocktail to block the path from them and stuff. It's funny, second time watching that, I think it's a nice little homage part too, is that you're thinking, how do you have a Molotov cocktail? But then you find out where they go to next.
Yes.
Old
Brain.
We get introduced to Brain, and he's mining oil, isn't he, from underground?
He's refining oil, and he's sort of looking after he's fueling all the remaining cars left.
And then with like lanterns and other stuff like that. Yeah,
don't call him Brain for nothing.
Exactly. Well, I think they mentioned
as we find out later.
Well, sorry, I think earlier in the film, the commissioner does say as well that some parts of it they've used like was it greenhouse emissions or something, or gas or something to fuel. It's like some places have street lights and other parts are desolate. Like some of the people in New York City have figured out ways to generate electricity and things like that. So and then we find out later, obviously Brains is one of them. That does it. And that's when we find out too that if you want to get to the president, you need to have a word with the old. We're introduced to the Duke for the first time.
We are. Yeah. This is where obviously we meet Brain. His name's Harold, who Snake Plissken knows. There's obviously history between him and Snake Plissken.
He wasn't very happy about having a reunion with him, was he?
Well, I think he ran out of him in a job in Kansas or something. He left. I think he left Fresno, Bob, and he said, "Did you see what they did to Bob?" I don't know what they did to Bob.
Well, no. But then it's implied that Snake Plissken was a bit late, though, wasn't he? And that's why
Snake Plissken would have been late, but it also implies that if there's a better offer on the table,
Oh.
Brain's going to take it, or Harold. So maybe we might see that later.
Some foreshadowing, yes. Yeah.
But and this is where so obviously we've got to make our way to Duke, to the Duke.
That's right. Yes. Well,
and nobody crosses the Duke.
No, it's very, very well established, and that's when we go outside, right? And we see the cars for the first time, don't we?
Yeah. When he's got this like chandeliers and stuff on the car and everything.
Well, Cabby, because Cabby's very in tune with everything. He knew what type of diesel car or fuel car that the old Duke had. That's what they went and hide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they hijack one of the Duke's cars, don't they?
They do.
But then they don't notice the car's missing though.
They don't.
From the entourage. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, it is what it is.
What's the general rule?
Yeah, we don't do it.
Don't never ever question the plot.
No, never will.
And this is where they go to. I think he's going in the front way, and he says, "No, go Broadway. It'll save us some time." He's like, "Why don't we go to Broadway?" He goes, "Oh, well, this is where you see some heads on." You see some heads on stakes and everything. So I think everyone's a bit savage in Broadway. You know where they're all like hitting the car and
it's interesting because they go through there. They're getting like attacked and they're savages, aren't they? Basically, or they're lawless people, whatever they are, running around. But then they it's like a barrier or something that they break through eventually. And then when they get to the barrier, the savages just stop.
Yeah, it's when Kurt Daddy reverses through.
It's kind of like established. This is like a border or something, or different areas of town of factions. So
that's right.
Even though under this complete dystopian world or like location, there's still like rules and regulations and some.
See, that I can't believe. Yeah, because turf actually becomes everything, doesn't it? In these worlds. So like I do get that. You know.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. But it's a cool like little thing when you just see them like suddenly stop. You're like, okay, it sets that tone up there. So it's really cool.
Like in that Wild Wacky Molestation adventure in South Park.
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? Yeah. There's some undertones into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, this is where we get to, I think, Grand Central Station now, where the president's being kept on the train, isn't he?
That's right, yes. And, Snake's, with the Brains distracting the goons, basically, isn't he?
Yeah, then you see Kurt Daddy up on top of the...
very, very sneaky, isn't he?
Yeah,
Snake.
And that's where you see, and then we go to the president on the train, and the fella, one of the goons, what's he say? Oh, God, that Brain, he always meddles and stuff. He goes, yeah, but he comes up with the gays.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, he does his old ninja moves on a couple of goons, and then bloody president stares at old Snake Plissken, which then alerts one of the other goons, and then he shoots him with a crossbow in the leg. Oh,
Yeah, really slows our Kurt Daddy down.
Now he can't go. He's only at 80% capacity now. Well, then it's established then that he's here to rescue the president and takes him around, and they're about to escape, but then the old Duke's got a card up his sleeve, doesn't he?
And this is where we're introduced to the big scary Duke, aren't we?
Oh, we are, yes.
He's a fucking nothing character. I'm sorry.
The build-up was like such a big thing. Like, okay, I wonder what he's going to be like. And he's like, oh, it's Isaac Hayes. Okay.
Snake Plissken. I've heard of you.
Yeah. I mean, he looks kind of cool, but then it's a bit, just a bit, I don't know. It's like a hybrid of like shanty clothes with Mad Max mixed vibes to it. I don't know. It's very peculiar clothing.
But he's just very stock villain, isn't he?
Yeah. He hasn't. You don't feel like a sense of danger around him at all. Like, you don't.
Nah, and he's only on screen for about 2 minutes. He's worse than fucking Captain Phasma.
Yeah, he's like
Zap.
Yeah. That's a terrible character. That one.
Yeah. Actually, the less we mention Disney Star Wars, the better.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're gonna bring down the mood of the Bloody Up podcast now. Yeah. So we then go to the point where the Snake's been captured right now, and then the president's back under control of the Duke again, and he kind of like is that because then they take all Snake's weaponry and stuff, right? And then Brains he's not double crossing Snake, but he's using his survival instincts, right? He's doing what's best for him, so he's making it. Oh, I was held at gunpoint. I had no choice but to do this kind of thing.
Boss.
Yeah, boss. Yeah. But then the Duke kind of established then too that even though the Duke would like to kill Brains, but he can't because he needs him for the fuel resources. So it's a bit political in that world. So
it is.
So we get to the point then. They kind of the Duke's messing with the president, right? He's got him like handcuffed to the wall. And then he's like shooting at him basically at point blank range and messing with him, forcing the president to like say, I'm the best in the world, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah.
It's hard to understand what the president's actually going on about. I don't think he's the greatest actor of all time, and he's a bit of a nothing character, but in learning for the episode, John Carpenter actually wanted to make him I think he said, an illegitimate love child of Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. Hence, he's got like a weird English accent or something as well.
Yeah, he does actually.
I think he is English.
No, he's an English actor. Yeah.
I guess he was born in for humorous effect. I don't think he's particularly that humorous. I think he's a bit of a nothing character, but that's just me.
No, he's just there to keep the plot moving along.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, that vital point is when he shoots the briefcase. Right, that's when the tape falls out.
Why didn't they think of that earlier?
Yeah,
sorry, I've broken the golden rule. Sorry.
Yeah, what are you doing, mate? Yeah, they cut his finger off, but not the briefcase. Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it kind of establishes that we said earlier, like they're using the president as like a bargaining chip, right? So they have to keep him intact. And,
that's the thing. It's so like I've always found there's like Marxist undertones, and I guess with like the way the kind of leader that the Duke is, and then when you see all the uniforms, it could be like Cuba or something like that. With the way all like we get into it a little bit later, but you particularly see it with the whole wrestling scene. But with everyone around him, it almost looks like communist sort of attire, that sort of thing, or what you'd see in those sort of communist countries at the time, particularly Cuba. But it's so idealistic, like, oh, we're all going to march out. The president's going to be at the front, and Snake's going to be at the front, and we're all going to march out. They're going to give us all amnesty, like that would ever happen in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like they're all like following him, like, oh yeah. It's all like,
he's like completely brainwashed them, and they've all been given this hope. Like it's kind of like, mate, nah, they nuked the place before they let you out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We get to the point too. Yeah, I don't like this scene, the fighting scene in the ring. It's it's I think too because of the budget and then. Also, the times like the choreograph of the actual fight scene's pretty basic. It's not very well done
because it's in the day. Like I find it so like lurid as well.
Yeah,
like it's
very disjointed. Yeah,
and I guess like being lurid is kind of like part of the theme, I suppose. But I just as you said, I find it just disjointing and I don't really know what it adds to the story, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I guess it's kind of showing like blood sport in a way, isn't it? Like gladiatorial or something about. It's kind of saying like the world or the society within New York City so decayed that this is kind of common occurrence where these blood sports happen, right? So I don't know, really made me reading too much into it, but just even some of the scenes too. It's like he's on Snake Plissken, gets pushed to the ground, and it's like the big dumb oaf is like, ooh, ooh, like, and he rolls out of the way. It's like you see it coming a mile away.
At no point in watching that fight did you feel that like there was no you were never tense.
No,
he was always going to survive.
Yeah, he was going to get out. Like, yeah, it's kind of like kind of like stalling so that the background stuff could happen.
Yeah, so it could sort of the movie could hit that an hour and a half point basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just draw it out a bit. Yeah. Well, in the background, Brain and his girlfriend.
His squeeze.
His squeeze, that's right. His squeeze, yeah. Which is actually John Carpenter's wife in the film.
Was his wife at the time.
Yeah. So they go to where the president is, and then they kind of say, "Oh, the Duke wants to see him or something." Oh,
yeah.
The Duke wants me to inspect him because he might have cyanide capsules on him.
Yeah,
they need him alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Romero, right? He's like, oh, okay. Like, kind of a bit suspicious, but lets them in. And that's when
they rescue him. He gets
they kill Goons and Ramiro in there. Like, they stabs him in the stomach, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they rescue the president. Yeah.
Yeah, and right after the point where Brain's living up to his moniker, he mentioned something about a glider. Couldn't be Central, but couldn't be here. Oh, the Twin Towers. So they don't call him Brains for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
He's not silly.
It's very natural, that scene, wasn't it? Yeah.
Fucking awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's like too low over here. Oh my God, yeah. Twin Towers. Must be there. Yeah, a bit like, yeah. Righto, yeah. And, so then Snake Plissken, he ends up killing the big oaf. And because one of the guys has got his eagle belt on or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at that time, he reaches into the ring and he pushes the button, isn't it? How it works?
So the tracker turns on
again. Yeah, very good, convenient timing as well.
Yeah.
So then they know
20 minutes to go.
Yeah, 20 minutes to go to ramp up the film and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
And then that's when we find out too, because one of the goons sees the Brain leading with the president, right? And then he warns the Duke, and then they just leave, don't they?
They're all there. They conveniently leave Snake Plissken, and they all start running after him.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the scene where the Twin Towers trying to get the glider, but the what does he call them? Some prisoners, for what reason I don't know, but they cut the rope and they throw the glider down, which is that brilliant scene of the glider falling.
Oh yeah.
Fucking
CGI. Oh. Yeah, great.
It's like a paper plane going through the
Yeah,
air.
it is. Yeah. And wouldn't it be some big explosion down below? Oh, yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? And
I don't know how they got up there so quickly as well, but because I think it's one of the Twin Towers up, but it's about 110 floors up. So yeah. Oh, who knows?
Who knows? We run down and they're about to get out of there, about to get in the car, and who should arrive?
Oh,
the Duke.
Not again. Another thing too. One of the goons are in his car trunk or whatever it is, or the front area. He opens up, has the crossbow, and then the Duke's got some specialized gun with like gas, like a gas tank or something, like some specialized weapon. And just in the nick of time, old Snake Plissken shoots the gas tank, which distracts them so they can get away. But then I was like, what happened to the guy who had the crossbow in the boot?
Golden rule.
Oh, yep, sorry. Yeah.
Done it again.
And then we reach our second pivotal Deus Machina moment. Who should turn up in the nick of time again? Oh, the great man himself, old Cabby. Oh, beautifully timed.
Wonderfully timed.
He's got a sixth sense, this bloke. Yeah,
he does.
I think he must have the tracker on somewhere. You know,
he must do.
Have to. Yeah. Then I think it's established earlier too that Brains has been trying to figure out a way to.
He's got a map of all the explosives on the mines.
On the mines was it the 69th bridge or something? I think it's called.
It might be. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where he's got on the bridge there, established there, so to get across. But then apparently only he can read it though. No one else can read his notes or something. Apparently that's why he has to come along with them.
He does.
So we're thinking, okay, they're getting the old, not the happy ending, but they're going to finally get out of this nightmare. But then the chase sequence commences, and then the old Duke, he's a man determined to get out, so he's just flooring it behind them in the chandelier car, basically, isn't he? Yeah. And we're going through using Brain's directions to weave through the mines.
Very convenient as well, isn't it? The way the cars, because like this, it is quite convenient the way.
Yeah, it's designed. Yeah, you'd think that the mines would be like across the whole road, but no, of course not. No. So we zigzag around, and then he turns just a fraction too late, doesn't he, old Snake? And that's when we find out there that the car splits perfectly in half too. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
it's like someone got like a knife and cut it right down the middle.
Yeah,
perfect explosion. But then unfortunately, old Cabby didn't make it though.
Yeah, poor Cabby.
Yeah, I didn't mind Cabby. He was alright.
Cabby was an alright character.
Yeah, you want to put your arm around him. You know, he meant well.
He's got us to this point of the film. Without Cabby,
That is, yeah.
Snake Plissken and the boys were done for.
Oh, exactly. Oh, and just before that point too, that's when we hear the tape, right? He pops it in there and plays it, and it's just random talking, isn't it? Yeah,
It is something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, we said that he,
The old
John
plot
Carpenter,
device.
yeah, he uses it as a plot device, but it's just a pivotal part. But yeah, it takes it out. And then the car explodes off the mine, and then we find out Cabby died, unfortunately. And then they're going on foot, aren't they?
They're going on foot, and Brain's telling them to go left, but they go right. But Brain somehow walks over a mine.
Yes. So they actually went the right way, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for old Brains, they didn't make it, and then we think, oh shit, the old Duke's kind of catch up to them, right? He's flooring it hard.
I mean, to be fair, he's pretty far away at this point.
He is, yeah.
But they spend a good 30 seconds to a minute
to mourn.
So just enough time for all the Duke to catch up, so we can have the final scene.
Yeah, but then old Brain squeeze. She can't go on without her.
Maggie's
Maggie,
her name. Yeah.
Maggie. Yeah, she can't go on, and grabs the gun and then has like a bit of a hero's one last stand kind of shootout with
so
Duke.
Kurt Daddy can get out of there.
Yeah, and to stall the Duke's momentum in the car, right? So
that's right.
He runs her over, I think, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah. And then she's all flattened out, and then he unfortunately have to go on foot, the old Duke. So he's chasing them hard. But then we get to the exit.
Funnily enough, actually, that scene when she gets hit by a car. So originally it was like she was just hit, and it's obviously like you see like the dummy or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know how, but they thought it was a bit ambiguous as like she'd been killed. I mean, fucking obviously that impact, but Hollywood, if it happens off screen, did it really happen?
Yeah.
So apparently they had to get they got her dressed up, and they just filmed something of her like lying down in front of a house with like blood on her, and they just put it into the film.
Yeah, and they made her like looking dead or something, right?
Yeah, which you wouldn't notice unless they said, you know.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but I don't know. They just felt in the original screening it was too ambiguous. Or did she survive?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it is.
Yeah.
Part of the plot. Yeah. So when we head to the end, where the end is, right, where we see the massive brick wall, and we're thinking, oh, the Duke's hot in their tail though, but they'll probably get out in time, surely.
Oh, you'd think so.
But then he ensures the president goes first, right?
I think he looks at his watch. There's about 1:30 left.
Oh, that's
right. This scene goes for at least 12 minutes.
Yeah, like a Dragon Ball Z episode. Yeah, on Dragon Ball Z, 5 minutes stretches out to 3 episodes. So
brilliant.
Yeah. So because obviously the president's 50, 60 years old, so he's a bit slow. He's pushing him up. Gets the they cut the barbed wire, don't they? The prisoners up the top because the guards. Yep. They lower down the pulley thing, isn't it? The hoist.
Yep.
The president goes up first, ensures that. Well, I think the president actually tries to grab the tape off him. He's like, no, not till we both get to the finish line. So way he goes up, and then he's up enough, not beautifully up there and safe, got him there, and then lowers the hoist down again, and then the old Duke Daddy comes out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. So, that's a pretty cool scene. He like sprays the wall, and he's like down.
Well, he kills a couple guards, doesn't he? Too.
He does.
Yeah.
Not Snake Plissken though.
No. He luckily avoids him. But then Snake Plissken kind of like goes under cover again, right? He like sneaks behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have like a mini fight, isn't it? Really,
we do.
It's not that big of a.
He doesn't really have time for this old Snake Plissken.
Yeah, he's got to get there, doesn't he? Yeah, time's of the essence for him, isn't it? Well, he does end up overpowering the Duke, but then doesn't kick the gun away, which I thought was a bit silly. But
I thought it was a bit silly too. But again, he probably didn't have the time.
Yeah, his adrenaline's rushing too, isn't it? So, that's when we gets to the hoist again. And he's going up. The next thing you know, the hoist suddenly stops.
Well, there's a scene. I could only assume it's the president that stops the hoist.
Yeah,
for reasons unknown.
No, yeah.
Anyway.
And I didn't know I didn't know the president was a Mark Shotsman as well. But he gets the gun and beautifully shoots down the Duke. He
does.
Put some fine lead into him. Finishes him. Not only did he shoot him a couple of times, then he like finishes him off too. I'm like, oh god, Deadeye. He's like an old cowboy, the Deadeye. Just
he was.
Yeah. We finally escape out of New York. Finish the plot off like that, and the president's about to give his speech, right?
Well, it's at this point with 2 seconds to spare.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
the bomb's being defused.
Yeah,
they were at the gate, ready for right in the nick of time.
Right in the nick of time. Diffuses the pulses out of his neck.
Yeah,
and literally was it two?
He looks at his watch. 2 seconds.
Oh, the man's amazing. What can't he do? 2 times to perfection. Yeah, so.
Absolute perfection. Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. President's about to give his address. He's getting the makeup because he obviously got his face a bit battered and bruised, so they put the makeup on him. And the president kind of thanks him for his rescue and basically says to him, you can have anything you want from me as a thank you for my gratitude kind of thing. And he goes, oh, I just want to have a few moments of your time, isn't it? Yeah. And it basically goes to him, oh, was it worth it, all these deaths to save you and to get you out of this predicament? And he basically says, oh, their sacrifice will be noted. And then moves on.
Like the old PR thing.
Yeah. And that kind of sets up perfectly like the...
Not enough for Snake, is it?
It confirms his, belief that the authoritarian government doesn't give a shit about citizens or its people. It's just serving itself for its own self-purposes, right?
I want to say it's very convenient that all those people died at the end, so they wouldn't have had that dilemma of them getting over.
Yeah.
I just want to say that there,
Yeah, true. Well, I guess it's also, I think maybe it's implying too that the other people that died in the process of trying to rescue him as well, like as in people on board the Air Force One, and then the people on the ground that died during the shootout and stuff, all for this happening for this one person, and the plans. Yeah, just before we get to that, he gives him the tape, right? The all-important tape.
The all-important tape, yeah.
And we get to the commissioner basically says, oh, you're going to kill me now, Snake? And he goes, I'm too tired. Good old Clint Eastwood one-liner,
Oh, yeah.
But then it's kind of like they have that kind of, it's not it's love-hate relationship, but they kind of respect each other in a weird way.
It's a begrudging respect.
Okay, yeah. So he basically goes, we should work together. We would be a hell of a team.
Well, he offers him a job, doesn't he?
Yeah, job.
And if we had any doubt, again, that old Kurt Daddy did want to work for the man.
We get to the most pivotal point, right?
Right there, yeah.
So the president
says no.
Yeah, he kind of says, it implies no, right? Yeah. Then we get to the pivotal point too. The president's giving his live to air speech about he couldn't be there in person to for the seminar, whatever it was,
convention.
Sorry, yep. And he goes, "Oh, all right, I've got the evidence here that will change the world." Pops in the tape, and it's one of
Cabby's tunes.
Playing on the thing. And then we cut to Snake Plissken lighting a cigarette.
Dart.
Yeah, dart. In Australia, we call it darts. Ripping the tape off and walks off into it's not a sunset, but a kind of walks off camera,
Walks off from camera, fades away, and he walks off into the night, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Then we cut to the credits, and it's just like, oh, what a way to end it. What a man, Snake Plissken. Oh, what a journey that movie was,
Yeah. And is that the last we'll see of Snake Plissken?
Oh, I assume so. Well,
couldn't happen again, could it?
Surely not, no. Well, we'll go into a future episode, won't we?
We're going to have to do that in a future episode. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to do that next week.
But yeah, we'll see how we feel. Yeah, I think we should break it up. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, just I guess to kind of wrap it up and stuff. Would you recommend this film to other people?
Yes, I would. I would recommend it, but I wouldn't go in sort of. It's not a deep thinking film. I don't think
it's
so.
Not thought-provoking,
right? I kind of caveat it with just don't take it too seriously.
Have a bit of fun with it. Yeah,
have a bit of fun with it. It's there's not really a hell of a lot of social commentary, and there's not a lot other than what you see on the surface. So it depends on your mood. Yeah, it's an easy watch, but yeah, I would. What about you?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a cult classic. It's good fun, cheesy action. Like it knows it's a B grade movie, but then it has some serious points to it. From just a normal viewing point of view, I'm like, yeah, give it a watch. It's fun. It's an hour and a half too. It's an easy watch.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't have to, it's one of those films you don't have to watch everything because there's no kind of intricate little details to it where if I miss this part, it won't make sense later down the track. It's kind of, you just roll with the punches.
In that sense, I guess it was good, particularly doing this one after Children of Men where, God, every scene was just something, even in the background where this was just,
But on the other, watching it just as a movie, for that. But on another hand, as watching it analytically as we were for this podcast, I found it frustrating because there's a lot of cool aspects to it, a lot of cool setting, the feel of the world it's creating. I want to know more. I want to explore more. I want to see more. I want to see the everyday life or how it got to the point where New York collapses like that, and then
what's the rest of the country doing?
How's it? Is the rest of the country, is crime better now, or is it still the same? Is it just whenever crime breaks out, they just grab the people and just throw them into New York City? I want to know that part of it too, and because the premise is a really cool idea. I find it it'd be fascinating to go explore it in a video game or something like that, or a TV series. Yeah, because you could imagine a TV series with that, someone just living in that world and establishing the different factions, stuff like that. We explore the Turks more, or how the Duke got set up, or he a bit of a backstory or something. Or what was he just a crime like a
He's just evil for the sake of being
evil, or he just a 2-bit criminal, then got power, like it presented a perfect opportunity to him to create power.
Yeah.
Things like that. I think that'd be fascinating to go through.
Yeah.
But as I said before, if you're just watching it just for the sake, just as a one-off thing, it's a great, fun, cheesy movie. Acting is somewhat decent, but then it's got some stupid one-liners in it and stuff. But
as you'd expect from a B-grade movie.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like a perfect encapsulation of a Kurt Russell movie where it's got some really good points, but then some like shit points as well. She's like, oh yeah, sums him up as an actor, doesn't it?
Kurt Russell in microcosm.
Yeah, it is.
Kurt Russell's career in microcosm.
Yep, definitely. And I guess this was the first time we saw John Carpenter and Kurt Russell combined together. Oh, sorry, second time. Sorry, it was the Elvis movie, but it's sent off like a pathway where down the track they made a lot more movies together. Like I think The Thing came out after, and the Big Trouble in Little China. I think that takes the premise of this kind of film, but then puts it on steroids and makes it more silly and goofy and stuff. Yeah,
Escape from LA.
Yeah, then we get to that one. Yeah, but yeah, I guess to wrap things up, what can the viewers expect on next week's episode, Andrew?
Next week's episode, one of your choices, is that Battle Royale?
Yes, Battle Royale. And just for the premise, I haven't seen it, and I know you haven't seen it either, so we're both going in blind to this, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And
so what's the brief synopsis to this one?
Yeah, so it's basically I think the Japanese government and society is like going into decay, and the children are out of control and stuff like that, so they decide to like grab them out of their out of their setting and throw them onto like a survival of the fittest island. They compete in like war games and shit.
So it's a bit like the Hunger Games, is it?
A bit like the Hunger Games, and what got me intrigued about this initially was I remember someone at my work was talking about it because around the time, I remember during COVID when Squid Games came huge and everyone was talking about it, and then some of my work colleagues said, "Oh, it's very similar to that random movie called Battle Royale." I'm like, "Oh, what's this? Never heard of it." And they told me the plot and the premise. I'm like, "Oh, it seems pretty fascinating." So, and it has a lot of famous Japanese actors that became big later on in other like Western films and other Japanese films too. So it's kind of like their first big break before they became like famous themselves. So it'd be good to see what we think of it and our reaction and what things we got out of it. So
yeah, both going in blind. That'll be cool.
Yeah, they're looking forward to it. Yeah, and as always, guys, if you want to reach out to us, follow us on Instagram page at Dystopia Pod, and send us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. Rate us on your favorite podcast platform. As I said, 5-star, 1-star, we don't mind as long as you give us the feedback and give us any suggestions. We're happy to go into it and explore that kind of themes as well. So yeah, on behalf of myself and Andrew, I wish you a good week and catch you next time.
See you guys.